Today, we witness a pivotal moment in Indian politics as a landmark bill is debated alongside ongoing tensions in the Middle East. Here are today's top 10 stories you need to know. On April 16, 2026, global cybersecurity experts are raising alarms over a surge in cyber threats targeting critical infrastructure. Recent attacks have exposed vulnerabilities in various sectors, including energy, healthcare, and finance. As more organizations shift to digital platforms, the risk of cyber attacks has escalated, prompting urgent calls for enhanced security measures. The backdrop to this alarming trend is the increasing sophistication of cybercriminals, who are employing advanced tactics to breach systems and steal sensitive information. Governments and businesses worldwide are scrambling to implement robust cybersecurity protocols to protect against potential breaches. The economic implications of these threats are significant, as companies face potential downtime and reputational damage. Public awareness of cybersecurity has grown, with many individuals urged to adopt better security practices in their personal and professional lives. However, the challenge remains daunting as cyber threats continue to evolve rapidly. Looking ahead, the focus will be on international cooperation to combat these threats. Cybersecurity frameworks and collaborative strategies will be essential in safeguarding critical systems and maintaining public trust in digital services. On April 16, 2026, several Asian nations are announcing significant healthcare reforms aimed at improving public health systems. Countries like India and Indonesia are prioritizing investments in healthcare infrastructure and access to essential services. This initiative comes in response to lessons learned during the pandemic, which highlighted critical gaps in healthcare delivery and emergency preparedness. The proposed reforms include expanding access to healthcare facilities, increasing funding for public health initiatives, and ensuring better training for healthcare professionals. Leaders believe these changes are necessary to enhance resilience against future health crises and improve overall population health. The public response has largely been positive, with many citizens expressing hope for improved healthcare services. However, challenges remain, particularly in funding and implementation. Balancing budgetary constraints with ambitious healthcare goals will be a significant hurdle for many governments. Additionally, ensuring equitable access across diverse populations will be crucial for the success of these reforms. As new policies are rolled out, the focus will be on monitoring their effectiveness and making necessary adjustments. The outcomes of these healthcare reforms could set a precedent for future health policy initiatives across the region. As of April 16, 2026, global supply chains are facing significant disruptions due to ongoing geopolitical tensions and natural disasters. The aftermath of recent events in the Middle East has led to complications in oil supply, impacting various industries worldwide. Additionally, supply chain constraints are exacerbated by logistical challenges and fluctuating demand patterns, which have left many businesses struggling to meet consumer needs. Companies are being forced to adapt quickly to these changes, with many seeking alternative suppliers and adjusting production schedules. The rising costs associated with shipping and materials are squeezing profit margins and raising prices for consumers. As businesses navigate these challenges, the risk of further supply chain breakdowns remains high. The consequences of these disruptions are being felt across markets, affecting everything from electronics to food products. Consumers are already experiencing delays and price increases, prompting widespread concern about inflation and economic stability. Looking forward, businesses and governments alike must find innovative solutions to bolster supply chains and ensure resilience against future shocks. The ability to adapt will be crucial in maintaining economic stability in a rapidly changing global landscape. On April 16, 2026, South America faces significant economic challenges as several countries grapple with inflation and rising unemployment. Nations such as Argentina and Venezuela are experiencing severe economic instability, prompting widespread protests and demands for government action. The economic crises in these countries are compounded by political corruption and mismanagement, leading to public outcry for reform. The situation has prompted regional leaders to convene and discuss potential cooperative measures to stabilize their economies. However, differing political ideologies and economic strategies may hinder collaborative efforts. As citizens continue to bear the brunt of these economic hardships, social unrest is escalating, raising concerns about civil order and governance. International organizations are closely monitoring the situation, as instability in South America could have ripple effects on global markets. Trade relationships may be tested as countries seek to protect their interests amid rising tensions. As nations strive for solutions, the outcomes of these discussions will be pivotal in determining the region's economic trajectory in the coming months and years. As of April 16, 2026, tensions in the Middle East are escalating once again, particularly between Israel and Iran, following a series of military skirmishes. Reports indicate that both sides are ramping up their military readiness as fears of a larger conflict loom. The situation has led to heightened concerns among neighboring countries and the international community, all of whom are wary of the potential for a broader war. The recent hostilities are rooted in ongoing disputes over territorial claims and military actions, particularly in Lebanon and Syria. Countries like Saudi Arabia and Turkey are closely monitoring these developments, as they could directly impact regional stability and security. The escalating rhetoric from both sides is adding to an already volatile environment. International leaders are calling for restraint and urging both parties to return to the negotiating table. The potential for a miscalculation could lead to catastrophic consequences, not only for the involved nations, but also for innocent civilians caught in the crossfire. Moving forward, the focus will remain on diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation. The international community is keenly aware that any military escalation could have severe repercussions, potentially destabilizing the entire region. On April 16, 2026, the U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear a pivotal case concerning voting rights that could have far-reaching implications for American democracy. The case challenges recent legislation in several states that critics argue disproportionately affects minority voters. As the nation grapples with issues of representation and fairness in the electoral process, this case has garnered significant attention across the political spectrum. The backdrop for this legal battle includes ongoing debates about voter suppression and access to the ballot, which have intensified in recent years. Advocates for voting rights argue that these laws undermine the fundamental principles of democracy, while proponents claim they are necessary for maintaining electoral integrity. The court's decision in this case could redefine the legal landscape surrounding voting rights in the United States. The implications of the ruling could extend beyond the immediate case, influencing legislation in various states and shaping the future of electoral politics nationwide. Activist groups are mobilizing to raise awareness and urge the court to protect voting rights for all citizens. As the Supreme Court prepares to hear arguments, the nation awaits a decision that could either uphold or dismantle crucial protections for voters. The outcome will undoubtedly resonate throughout the political landscape, impacting the 2026 elections and beyond. On April 16, 2026, European leaders gathered to discuss significant shifts in climate change policies in response to increasing environmental pressures. A new framework aimed at reducing carbon emissions by 50% within the next decade has been proposed, amid growing public demand for urgent action against climate change. This initiative is seen as a response to recent extreme weather events that have wreaked havoc across the continent, highlighting the urgency of the climate crisis. The proposed policies include stricter regulations on industrial emissions and increased investments in renewable energy sources. European nations are recognizing that their collective future depends on immediate and concerted efforts to combat climate change. The discussions are further fueled by widespread protests from environmental activists who are demanding more aggressive actions from their governments. The potential impact of these policy shifts could be profound, affecting industries, economies, and the everyday lives of citizens across Europe. If implemented effectively, such measures could position Europe as a global leader in climate accountability and sustainability, setting a precedent for other regions to follow. However, the path is fraught with challenges, as industries resist changes that may affect their profitability. The negotiations will continue in the coming weeks, with the outcome likely to shape Europe's environmental landscape for years to come. On April 16, 2026, Eastern Europe is grappling with escalating economic turmoil as inflation rates soar and political instability rises. Countries like Ukraine and Poland are particularly affected, facing severe challenges due to the ongoing fallout from the Iran conflict and shifting international alliances. The economic strain has led to widespread protests and civil unrest, reflecting the public's frustration with rising living costs and stagnant wages. This economic crisis is compounded by a decline in foreign aid, as Western support has dwindled in the face of other pressing global issues. Governments are scrambling to implement measures to stabilize their economies, but many citizens are losing faith in their leaders' ability to address these urgent problems. The political landscape is shifting as populist movements gain traction, promising radical changes to economic policy. The consequences of this turmoil extend beyond national borders, affecting trade relationships and regional stability. As Eastern European nations struggle to maintain their economic health, the potential for increased migration and social unrest looms large, threatening to spill over into neighboring countries. Looking ahead, the response from international allies will be critical in determining the future stability of the region. Strategic economic partnerships and supportive policies from the EU may help alleviate some of the immediate pressures, but the path to recovery appears challenging and uncertain. On April 16, 2026, peace talks between the United States and Iran commenced in Pakistan, signaling a potential thaw in relations after a protracted conflict. This diplomatic effort follows a series of military engagements that have left both nations and their regional allies in a state of uncertainty. The recent conflicts have not only destabilized the Middle East, but have also raised concerns about global oil supply and security. The backdrop to these negotiations includes the recent escalation of violence, particularly following U.S.-Israeli airstrikes in Iran, which intensified hostilities. As both nations sit at the negotiation table, they face immense pressure to reach a resolution that could stabilize the region. The outcomes of these talks are crucial, not just for U.S.-Iran relations, but also for broader geopolitical dynamics involving countries like Israel and Saudi Arabia, who are closely monitoring the situation. If successful, this diplomatic initiative could lead to a significant reduction in military tensions and open pathways for economic cooperation and stability in the region. However, skepticism remains high, as past negotiations have often faltered over key issues such as nuclear capabilities and military presence. The world is watching this pivotal moment closely, eager to see if diplomacy can overcome decades of enmity. Successful talks could herald a new era of cooperation in a region fraught with conflict and instability. India's parliament opened a crucial debate on April 16, 2026, regarding a landmark bill to reserve one-third of legislative seats for women. This historic initiative aims to enhance women's representation in governance, a significant step towards gender equality in a country often criticized for its male-dominated political landscape. The proposal comes amid heightened awareness of women's rights and a push from various social movements advocating for greater female participation in politics. The push for this legislation is driven by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's administration, which aims to address long-standing issues of gender disparity in government. Women currently hold only a small fraction of parliamentary seats, and this bill is seen as a potential game-changer. If passed, it may prompt a major reshaping of electoral boundaries, leading to increased political competition and potentially altering the dynamics of power in Indian politics. The potential impact of this bill extends beyond mere numbers. It could empower women politically and socially, encouraging future generations to aspire to leadership roles. However, the bill has also sparked controversy and opposition from various political factions who fear it might disrupt existing power structures. As the debate unfolds, reactions from political leaders and the public will be closely monitored. The outcome of this legislation could significantly influence India's political landscape for years to come, marking a new chapter in the fight for gender equality in governance. Thank you for tuning in to today's news recap. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates. Which story shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments.